The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council for Monday, April 25th, 2022 is called to order. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Mayor Kaufman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bergen.
Here.
Councilmember Coombs.
Present. Sorry.
Councilmember Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky.
Here.
Councilmember Lawson.
Here.
Councilmember Marcano.
Present.
Councilmember Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Murillo.
Present.
Councilmember Stenberg.
Here.
And Councilmember Zavanek.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Announcement of the call-in line.
Good evening, Council welcomes feedback from the public on both matters appearing on the agenda and during public invited to be heard. If you would like to speak and have not already spoken to an operator, please press *3. For those watching on Channel 8, call 855-695-3475 and press *3 when connected. You will hear a prompt confirming you are in line to speak to an operator and then be able to continue listening to the meeting. When the operator comes on the line, please be ready to give them your name and the agenda item you wish to speak on. Keep in mind that you must press *3 before the city clerk reads the title of the item you wish to speak on. As a reminder, Council does not allow comments about any items on the agenda during public invited to be heard, and each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. Thank you.
El Consejo Municipal de la Ciudad de Aurora les da la bienvenida a todos los habitantes y vecinos. Queremos escuchar su opinión en asuntos incluidos en nuestra agenda y también durante la sección de invitación a la audiencia a dar su opinión. Por favor, llame al 1-877-820-7831 e ingrese el código 254610 seguido de la tecla de numeral. Tome su turno y llegado el momento se interpretará su comentario en inglés. Si usted no está en la fila de llamadas al momento en que se invita a escuchar al público, se pondrá a la última parte de la invitación para comentario público. Finalmente, recuerda que el Consejo no permite comentarios en ninguno de los asuntos en la agenda durante la invitación para el público a ser escuchado. Muchísimas gracias.
Please join me in a moment of silence for the lives that have been lost in Ukraine and the suffering there that continues. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Executive session update. During executive session, we discussed contracts, litigation, and negotiations. Approval of the minutes for March 28, 2022.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
motion to approve the minutes from March 28th.
It's been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Sundberg to approve the minutes from March 28, 2022. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes unanimously to approve the March 28th, 2022 council meeting minutes.
Very well. Proclamations.
Mayor, can we have the animal services showcase before the
Okay.
proclamations?
Can we, okay, the animal services, we'll go first. We don't want to have an accident.
Is this already on?
All right, hi everyone. This happy lady, her name is Blue. So Blue first came into the shelter in February. She came into us about 9 months after the incident that caused all that scarring occurred. Even though all that time had passed, she still had several open wounds on her, including about a 6-inch long one on her side, as well as one on her eye that required surgery. Everybody who meets her remarks on how sweet she is, and then asks, what happened? And Blue is not a case of intended harm, but she's instead a case of what happens when dogs are loose and untethered when they are in the back of a truck. So it is really very dangerous beyond their ability to jump out of the back of the truck. At any sudden stop, start, or turn, they could get ejected from it. Even if they are tethered with a leash, if they get ejected from that truck, they could still be left hanging and helpless. Even if they stay in that back of the truck, they're still exposed to those elements, so they could be exposed to heat stroke in the sun, or the temperature of the truck bed may become too hot and injure their paws. They are also exposed to all of the different debris, in particular, going through the air at that very high current airstreams. So we were really lucky that Blue came into us, that she survived what she went through, and that we had the opportunity to get her all healed up. And we really appreciate the opportunity to speak about this important issue so you guys can help spread the word on how dangerous it is. We know we've all seen a lot of people drive with dogs in the back of the truck, theory being that they're really enjoying the wind in their fur and freedom of the open road, but in truth it is just really dangerous to their health and their well-being. So thank you for meeting her, and she will be up for adoption shortly.
Thank you. Proclamations. The first proclamation is Municipal Clerks Week. And Katie Rodriguez, I think you're the recipient of this. And Cecilia Zapata. Whereas the Office of the Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world and is the oldest among public services. And whereas the Office of the Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between local government bodies and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve their administration's dealings through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. And whereas this week is to recognize the accomplishments of the Office of Municipal Clerk. Now, therefore, I, Mike Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim the week of May 1st through 7th, 2022 as Municipal Clerks Week. Let's see. Katie, thank you so much for all you do for our city.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council, for everything.
National Youth Violence Prevention Week, Christina Amparan and Estrella Avenano. Whereas National Youth Violence Prevention Week exists to raise awareness and educate the public on effective ways to reduce and prevent youth violence, and whereas, although Aurora is a safe city, violence among youth continues to affect it. In 2021, 17 of the 45 homicides in Aurora were victims under the age of 25, and whereas Aurora is committed to reducing youth violence by merging citywide efforts and resources to strategically tackle this issue as a public health crisis, and whereas Aurora has convened a group of stakeholders to form the Youth Violence Prevention Program Network, a conglomerate of youth, community, government agencies, and city leaders to develop strategies around youth violence prevention and intervention efforts that serve at and high-risk youth, and whereas for referred youth and their families, Aurora Youth Violence Prevention Program provides individualized wraparound support and implements critical incident responses to address the impacts of current delinquent and violent incidents. And whereas the Aurora Youth Violence Prevention Advisory Committee consists of Aurora youth who will work collaboratively with city program staff to ensure efforts are youth-informed, lead community service projects, and participate in programming activities. Now, therefore, I, Mike Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim April 25th to the 29th, 2022 as National Youth Violence Prevention Week. Christina?
Thank you, council members, and I wanted to introduce one of our Youth Advisory Council members here today.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Morales, and I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity and allowing us to, make a difference and unite our community.
Hello. Hello, my name is Alexa Gonzalez, and I'm from Overland High School, and I would just like to say thank you for this today. I know it's a really big honor to be here today. I know that not a lot of people get to be here, and I feel really honored, and I feel really happy to try to make and spread awareness about our community right now. Gun violence has impacted a lot of people, ones including me, because we know that we're all trying to be safe, we're all trying to be with our family, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your efforts. I really appreciate it. Now for the next proclamation for Second Chance Month, Councilmember Gardner.
Whereas every person is endowed with human dignity and value, and American values include redemption and second chances, and whereas individuals released from prison and those who have paid their debt after committing a crime face significant barriers known as collateral consequences, these barriers can contribute to recidivism, which increases victimization and decreases public safety, and whereas individuals with a criminal history often struggle to find housing, employment, or education, regain voting rights, volunteer in their community, and find opportunities to pay for significant debt that arises as a result of their conviction and incarceration. And whereas the Council of State Governments reports that the number of legal collateral consequences of a criminal conviction exceeds 44,000, and youth face more than 1,000 collateral consequences, which affects their high school and higher education. And whereas the stigma and legal barriers associated with a criminal record result in lost human capital and lost economic output for the United States. And whereas dignified work and community support are keys to flourishing after incarceration. But the COVID-19 pandemic has caused 1 in 3 individuals in community corrections to lose their jobs and many reentry providers to close their operations. And whereas the designation of April as Second Chance Month will increase public awareness about the needs of those who have paid their debt and encourage individuals, employers, congregations, and communities to offer second chances. Now, therefore, I, Mike Kaufman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do proclaim the month of April 2022 as Second Chance Month. I just want to real quickly recognize council last year. So I brought forward a resolution last year for council naming April Second Chance Month in April, or every year I should say. It's a national effort. The federal government has done it, states have done it, cities all across the country. And I'm really proud to advocate for what's often an underrepresented group. It's possible to be tough on crime, but also recognize that after people have paid their debts to society, after they leave incarceration, they need the opportunity to re-enter the workforce, to be able to find housing, and have opportunities once they've served their time. So I'm really proud to read this every year since council passed it unanimously last year. So as long as I'm on council, I'll make sure it gets read every April. Thank you.
And one last proclamation. All right. Whereas every day, women, men, and children across Colorado suffer the pain and trauma of rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment, And whereas Aurora, Colorado has seen a 2.2% increase in sexual assault cases reported to the Aurora Police Department from 2020 to 2021. Cases include all ages, races, and genders. And whereas during National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we recommit ourselves not only to lifting the veil of secrecy and shame surrounding sexual violence, but to also raising awareness, expanding support for victims, and strengthening our response. And whereas at the local level, we must work together to educate the City of Aurora community about sexual violence prevention, supporting survivors, and speaking out against harmful attitudes and actions impeding victims from seeking services. And whereas prevention is possible when the entire City of Aurora community is involved, the first step is increasing awareness through education and supporting victims. And whereas it's time for all people to join advocates and communities across the country in taking action to prevent sexual violence and sexual assault and support sexual violence survivors. Now, therefore, I, Mike Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado, to be affixed this 5th day of April 2022. And we'd like you to say a few words.
You're asking for a lot there. I first want to thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor, and Council for doing this. Sexual violence is not a topic that anybody enjoys to talk about. It's not fun by any means, but you know, signing this proclamation and bringing light and awareness to it is the first step in helping survivors be able to tell their story and show that people are out there and they believe them. So I do want to thank you all for doing that first and foremost. We have been doing some Sexual Assault Awareness Month stuff in our office. So you can find that on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram pages. We've got facts and stuff that you guys are more than welcome to share with everyone else. And Denim Day is Wednesday this week, so if you guys can support survivors by wearing denim, I'd go into a whole big long story, but long story short, a victim was told that her conviction was going to be overturned because she must have helped her offender remove her jeans because they were too tight. So that's kind of the long story short of it, but you guys can look at it. There's a lot of stuff online, but I do encourage you all to wear denim on Wednesday if you're able. Yeah, I'm with the DA's office. I guess I should have said that. Sorry. I'm the Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, Mayor. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
A public invited to be heard.
Mayor, we do have a few individuals in person and one on the call-in line. Arnie Schultz will be followed by Robbie.
Mayor Kaufman, members of the City Council, my name is Arnie Schultz, and I have lived in Aurora since 1975. During the council meeting on March 28th, agenda item 19E was consideration to appoint one member to the Election Commission. Councilmember Jurenski made a motion to appoint Molly Barrett to the Election Commission. Councilmember Marcano made a substitute motion to appoint Deborah Johnson to the Election Commission, stating that she was recommended by city staff. During the discussion, Councilmember Marcano stated that Deborah Johnson had served as Denver clerk. I know that she retired from there after 8 years. She served the public as a city clerk for 25 years, 17 of those in Aurora. Councilman Marcano also mentioned that Deborah Johnson was hired as a consultant in the last ward redistricting in 2013. His substitute motion failed when Mayor Kaufman voted no on a tied vote. Molly Barrett was then appointed after the mayor voted yes on a tied vote. During some further questioning, Councilmember Marcano asked Councilmember Jurenski why she voted to appoint Molly Barrett. And she responded she could appoint anyone she wanted to. When Councilmember Marcano asked her to mention Ms. Barrett's qualifications, she called for a vote. And I thought the mayor and the city council were here to serve the city with the best possible people around. And nobody in this state is more qualified than Deborah Johnson to be on the election commission. This was purely nothing but a political stand. And this has to stop. This is not what the city is about. This is not what the citizens expect. And as a constituent, I'd like to know why Molly Barrett's qualifications or anybody else's are better than Deborah Johnson's. But every time this comes up and a Republican on council is asked to stay while they're voting, with few exceptions, they refuse to answer anything. This, again, does not serve the public, and it is not transparent. And that's what this government is supposed to be about. I don't know what's going on here. At the council meeting, city council meeting 2 weeks ago, members of the audience were yelling at a speaker who was using foul language, which I object to, but the mayor failed to use his gavel to silence them, probably because they were in favor of what he was supporting. And this also has to stop. If somebody cheered for me now, I'm sure the gavel would be banging, banging, banging. This is not right. Every other mayor has always read the rules for the audience. No applauding, no booing, no yelling, and if they get out of step, the gavel hits the pounding stone.
Arnie, you've reached your 3 minutes.
Okay. So I'd also like to, when I spoke last time, the mayor had his head down, like he does now, in his phone, during public invited to be heard, paying no attention to most people.
Bobbie DeYoung, followed by Susan Tabichek.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager, council members, audience. My name is Bobbie DeYoung, and I want to start off by asking one question by a raise of hands. How many in the audience and on the council have been subject to having a vehicle stolen or know somebody that has? Okay. In 2020, there were 37,000 vehicles stolen in Colorado. Colorado is #1 in the nation for auto theft. In February, the Aurora Police Department was taken off of the Metropolitan Auto Theft Task Force because they were shorthanded. Let me explain that with auto theft, 85% of auto theft is followed with other crimes. 15% of that 85% are violent crimes. Taking them off so that they can, have more patrol is counterproductive. We need to have a task force with the police department, and I understand that's something that we're looking at in the future, but we need something that will focus on this crime. You have no idea how hard it is on a person, especially somebody that can't afford to have auto insurance such as comprehensive. If you don't have comprehensive insurance and your automobile is stolen, there is nothing you can do about it, nothing. And most of the people that can't afford comprehensive insurance are people like me. I do have it, but I can tell you that it's a struggle to pay for it. But even though my vehicle is worth less than $2,000, if that vehicle is stolen, I don't have a way to get to doctor's appointments. I don't have a way to get to the grocery store. I don't have a way to get anywhere or even to go see my grandkids. I don't have that privilege. And when we are taking, Do you realize that when a vehicle is stolen under $2,000, it's considered a misdemeanor because the vehicle isn't that good? Why? The victimization that people go through and the apathy that they go through when they call the police department and they can't get help. Now, don't get me wrong. I am 100% pro-police. I will have their 6 because I know they will have mine. But I'm going to tell you right now, when people call in and they are told that, well, we're sorry, we can't really deal with that, we have to deal with more violent crimes. There was a little girl the day that...
Robbie, you've reached your 3 minutes.
Okay. I could talk about this for hours, actually, but I'd like to have the city council and the police department and the citizens to do what they can to end the apathy, to end this violent crime, because it is a violent crime. Thank you.
Susan Tabichek, followed by Eric Schonholzer.
Hello, I'm Susan Tabichek. I'm a native Coloradoan, born in Gunnison, grew up in North Denver, raised my Filipino children here in Aurora, and they were safe. Nobody's safe anymore, but that's not why I came to talk. I came to thank the city manager. Thank you. I can't say his name, it's very hard for me, but thank you for helping to get a new police chief, to help figure out how to clean up this homelessness. I just can't tell you how important it is in my neighborhood in Del Mar. We did not have, the police hardly ever showed up. Thank God we're bringing back Dan Holtz, and hopefully maybe a police chief maybe from Boston or somewhere like that, because we need to clean up Aurora. And we need to get rid of all the violence going on. We can't be mamby-pambying around. So I just want to tell you, my husband is a retired Air Force, my daughter, Air Force, my grandsons are Air Force, my son is in the Army right now in Norfolk. I just feel, we provide support for this city. I was on the school board. I'm telling you, things have gotten a lot worse since 2009. So thank you for having the guts, and thank you, Durinsky, for opening up and telling the truth about the stuff going on, and being honest and transparent instead of sitting back and not acting like nothing's happening. And thank you for listening, Marcano, thank you for listening to me tonight and understanding where I'm coming from. We need to clean up this city. And y'all need to work together to do it instead of, oh, I'm a Democrat, oh, I'm a Republican. I don't want to do it that way. Social workers, fine. My son, my special needs son, my daughter is now the guardian and working through ILC for him. But he doesn't get away with crap. No. We need to clean up stuff. Stop, so thank you for listening to me, understanding where I'm coming from. I am a Republican, and I'm damn proud of it. So thank you very much, and you all have a great night. I really appreciate all of you. I think if you all wouldn't have stepped up, even if I don't agree with you, we wouldn't have a city council to protect this community. So thank you.
Eric Schonholzer, followed by Andre Hickman.
A lot of people seem concerned about the police today. I ask unanimous consent to advise and extend my remarks. Several meetings ago, there was a short debate on the dais about the rising crime rate. Both council members debated as if their ideas were mutually exclusive, and the solutions they presented were the one true answer, which is, of course, bunkus. One set of solutions was focused on short-term answers. The other focused on long-term answers. Both need to be addressed, but not with the platitudes that were being used. And the long-term, the societal solutions are actually beyond the power and the scope of the City Council. I rise to present a couple of specific actions which are certainly within the scope and power of the grand body which sits before me. Not comprehensive, of course, but needed first steps. First, the Aurora Police Department needs to be fully staffed. The last two chiefs have tried and failed to do that. We cannot have a patrol division that cannot patrol. They spend their whole shifts going from call to call to call, and even then, there are so many calls which are not answered, the dispatchers have to triage calls out of the system, like the auto theft. Mostly nonviolent crimes, of course, but this does not do anything to change the perception of the APD among the people of Aurora. My second point is also about the poor perception of the police department among the populace. The PAR program, which is a great thing but underutilized. The people do not know it exists, and those of us who do not know how to properly utilize our PAR. I'll try to make it short. We need to get word of this program out to folks. People need to know who their PAR officer is, so they can deal with some of the items that the patrol division cannot deal with. We also need to shrink the size of the PAR officers' territories in the high crime areas so the PAR officers can be more visible and get to know the people of their areas better. Thank you, those of us who are actually paying attention, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
Andre Hickman, followed by Tanya Tabachek.
Hello, my name is Andre Hickman. What can be said here is a question of what can be said to the master. You are the masters of this house, this land, this plantation. As I look out upon the city, I see a city suffering, and the master is to blame. There are days when I have wondered what my role is in this city and what my future is in it. On a larger scale, I wonder what my role is and future is in this country, and that is a tragic shame, for I am the descendant of American chattel slaves. From my perspective, no label, no slogan, no party is more important than winning a victory for humanity. And that is why I'm here today. Because it has become painfully apparent that our Aurora City Council is not interested in winning victories for humanity. It is only interested in scoring political points. It doesn't matter how many bodies line the streets as long as they can score political points. I speak on a straightforward assumption. Our city council is wrong. We have a sitting mayor who authored a campaign bill to get conservatives elected to the council. He wasn't interested in the humanity of our houseless brothers and sisters. It was political. We have a city council member who has tweeted out that it is demoralizing to tell the Aurora Police Department that they cannot murder unarmed black citizens. We have a city council member who decided that the best interest was to hand out the equivalent of TV dinners. Instead of actual government reform, TV dinners, spaghetti dinners don't build homes. That is the role of government. When you voted to tell our houseless brothers and sisters that it would be a crime to be homeless, you knew what you did. See, we opened our city council with a moment of silence that allowed me to reflect that at the very heart of the Christian religion was a lynching. And it wasn't until Christ spoke those important words, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," that he became a redeemer and not a condemner.
Andre, you reached your 3 minutes.
You know what you do. Be ashamed of what you have turned this body into. And that goes for the audience as well. Be ashamed that this is our greatest mistake.
Tanya Tabachek, followed by Don Black.
Hello, my name is Tanya Tabachek, and I live in Ward 3. I just want to say I've been watching the Aurora City Council on TV dealing with like the homeless city council ban and just the police and the Vanessa Wilson and all that. And I've listened a lot and I've learned a lot, even from the public. But I just wanted to say thank you to Mayor Kaufman and the city manager and City Council, Mr. Bendina and Marcano and Jurinsky and Sundberg and so forth, to listening to what the people say. And I live on 6th and Havana, and yes, the homeless, that's a big deal in our city. I do agree that. But it's pretty sad to say that when you go by McDonald's or whatever, all you see is trash. I feel bad, and I wish I could do more on my own end, and I think about them, and I do the best I can with what I have, which is not much because I do not make that much. But the homeless, I know that the ban, that's one step, and that might not be a total good step, but there has to be other ways to help or figure out ways that they could at least clean up after themselves. There's other people living in the city, the safety, the health, and I wanted to get better. And I want to say thank you to Drinsky and like just the last police chief. Yeah, she did have a lot on her plate, but you know that not just one person does it. I appreciate the police and what they do and so forth, and not the city council can't do it all by themselves either. Every person counts. If you have something to say, you need to come out and say it and voice your opinion and have facts and stuff behind it, back up behind it. But I just know that the homeless thing, that's a big deal, and there's crime going on and so forth. There's little steps to go forth to make a bigger process. So I just want to say thank you to everyone and know that I appreciate everyone's just listening to me. Thank you.
Don Black.
Mayor, City Council, City Manager. For the other speaker who talked about PAR, I created the PAR program with the help of council, of course. Now that the city is in another search for a police chief and in the process of deciding upon strategies to address crime, I'd like to make a few suggestions. As a retired member of the Aurora Police Department, I railed against the idea of selecting another politician chief. The process used by the city has given the police department a long line of police politicians chiefs who've done little to guide the department in an ethical way. Much of that has been due to the fact that the chiefs have been able to run a closed kingdom where they play favorites and pay little attention to bettering service to the public. Most police officers understand that the chiefs are simply interested in their careers. They realize not only do the chiefs have little chance of coming up with good policing strategies, but also that they suppress good ideas from the officers. Further, the officers realize that the chiefs will not stand up to defend them or to oppose ideas that are politically correct but against the public's best interests. An article titled 15 Things Cops Wish the Public Knew About Policing in a national police publication said, and I quote, "The people at the top often don't have a lot of practical experience. There are exceptions, but most cops who become chiefs, sheriffs, or other high-ranking officers spend most of their career paving the way to promotion. They spend a brief time as working cops, then they transfer to a non-enforcement job where they stay until they get their first promotion. They never truly understand the job, and the cops they oversee don't identify with the brass or the brass with the cops." End of quote. I suggest that the city hold a televised public forum or debate to look at ideas to address crime in the city. I suggest that the public get a chance to see what real ideas exist instead of the general statements made by police chief candidates. In watching the chief candidates in the city's past carefully controlled citizens' meetings, I was cognizant of the fact that this was the same game always played. The candidates use the same buzzwords like community policing and best practices, while they have no idea how to actually implement those things. All that was missing was their statements about a desire for world peace. I propose that the city bring in people with experience, like myself, and anyone who should have ideas on crime, strategies, data-based policing, and community policing. I would invite past chiefs, the interim chief, both police unions, city council members, potential chief candidates, and the public. Put aside the carefully controlled structure with submitted questions, make each speaker present ideas and defend them. Let the citizens hear real ideas debated by those who know enough to actually question in detail. Let the public have a chance to see how the ideas hold up under real scrutiny. Let the public see if these people have actual strategies that they will present instead of some vague generalities. Let the public see how much thought the presenters have given to crime strategies and community policing. Let the public and the other presenters question the ideas. Anyone dedicated to serving the public should have given a great deal of thought on how to improve that service. Let the public hear those ideas before they think about a new chief. Please quit giving the police department smooth-talking politicians who care only about their careers and not the welfare of the officers and the citizens. Confucius said, "A man with smiling countenance and glib tongue seldom has the public interest at heart." Thank you.
We have one person on the call-in line.
Katrina, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hey, thanks, everybody. Good. Sorry I'm not there in person today. I've got a sick kiddo, and I don't want to get everyone sick. Well, I was looking for the amendment from the last meeting. This is kind of housekeeping, but the April 11th meeting, that the city council meeting, is not on the Aurora channel's YouTube page publicly, so I couldn't find it to go back to the amendment. And April 11th also wasn't in the minutes of the PDF that's posted, the agenda package. So just pointing that out, if we could get maybe the minutes and the agenda back there. And then I just really wanted to quickly point out, and sorry I don't have what the agenda item was, April 11th, when you were talking about the minimum distance from oil and gas wells, and it was proposed to be set back, a reverse setback to 150 feet from the normal 2,000 feet. I don't know if you guys talked about that last Monday, but that did seem like a silly thing, that if you're not allowed to build a house within 2,000 feet of an oil well, why would you be able to put an oil and gas well within 2,000 feet, let alone 150 feet from an existing house? One council member said, "Oh, this would really hurt developers," as if we don't have proof that it would actually hurt human beings. So if you're just going to talk about that again, if you could kind of reframe your thinking that developers are like corporate entities who don't have families to raise and, you know, a body of their own, and if we could just prioritize actual human beings in this city. I just keep seeing it over and over that we're not prioritizing people anymore. And that's really all I wanted to say. And thanks so much, and have a great meeting.
That's all for public invited to be heard.
Very well. Next item is adoption of the agenda. Motion.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
motion to adopt the agenda.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by?
Zvonik.
Seconded by Councilmember Zvonik to adopt the agenda. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor Kaufman,
Aye.
Councilmember Zvonik, we need your vote.
Yes. Yes, as I voted. Did it come through?
Yes.
Okay.
And the motion passed unanimously to adopt the agenda.
Next item before us is item number 10, adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A through 10I. Motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Gardner.
motion to approve items 10A through I.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, seconded by
Morgan.
Mayor Pro Tem to adopt the agenda item number 10A through 10I. Further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Jurenski.
I mean, I know that I was told why. I'm not sure that I quite accept it yet, but every single council meeting, these come up, millions and millions of dollars in contracts, and not one to the city, to a company in the city of Aurora. And you can't tell me that the third largest city in this state that has a major industrial complex and a lot of businesses, that we can't afford one contract for as long as we've been on council, not one to a business in the city of Aurora. That's all I want to say.
Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A through 10I.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes unanimously to adopt the consent calendar.
It's my understanding that item number 10A through 10F can be taken in the same manner as the consent calendar.
Yes, items 11A through 11F.
I'm sorry, item number 11A through 11F. Is it because they passed unanimously in first reading?
Yes, they can be taken into consideration upon, and voted upon with a single item, but any council member may request an item be removed to discuss and vote on separately.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
motion to approve 11A through 11F.
Second.
Sorry.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Gardner to approve item number 11A through 11F. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Coombs.
I'd like to pull off 11E and 11F, and if I recall correctly, those were not approved unanimously in any case. So
11D.
E and F.
11E. Okay, very well. 11E and 11F be taken out. So to item number, is there further discussion on item number 11A through 11D? Seeing no further discussion, call for the question on 11A through 11D.
The motion passes unanimously to approve items 11A through 11D.
Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 11E?
Item 11E is Resolution 2022-87, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, to amend the Rules of Order and Procedure for the Aurora, Colorado City Council regarding censure.
A brief presentation by staff.
Thank you, Council. This is Jack Bajor, Deputy City Attorney. This item simplifies the current council rule regarding censure, requires notice to be given, eliminates a lot of the attorney involvement. It turns it more into a council member-driven process. Passage requires a two-third vote of the eligible council members, so a supermajority to affirmatively pass the resolution, and requires specific notice as to what council rule or charter or city code that is alleged to be in violation.
Questions of staff on 11E? Seeing none, thank you for the presentation. Further discussion on item number, motion on item number 11E.
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem.
motion to approve 11E.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by
Zvonik.
Seconded by Councilmember Zvonik to approve item number 11E. Further discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
thank you. So in our previous discussion, it was stated several times that this would create more transparency by giving us public discussion of this item. However, the current rule requires a public hearing. So there already is that transparency. It is simply the case that in the last instance where there was a censure brought forward, we did not hold a public hearing. So this doesn't create transparency where there was none. There already is supposed to be transparency that we simply did not carry out in our most recent process. That being said, I do appreciate getting the lawyers out of the process. However, I'm still concerned about having council members make the decision, because all you have to do is have a majority. And if the majority of people want to see you avoid consequences for your actions, even if you've done wrong, then they can just excuse you. And that seems to me that what we end up doing is not finding fact. Did someone break the rule or did they not? Just, do we agree with them or don't we? And that's concerning to me.
Further discussion on item number 11E. Let me just say that's a supermajority, not a simple majority. Further discussion. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of item number 11E. Call for the question.
The motion passes with 6 yes votes, 4 no votes from Councilmember Medina, Marcano, Coombs, and Mario for Resolution 2022-87.
Will clerk please now read the title to item number 11F?
Item 11F is Resolution 2022-88, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado to amend the Rules of Order and Procedure for the Aurora, Colorado City Council regarding the avoidance of appearance of preferential treatment.
Brief presentation by staff.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Pete Schultz, Public Safety Client Manager of the City Attorney's Office. This came out of the Rules Committee asking it to be a change in council rules to more match the Aurora City Code about gifts to elected officials. And what was done here was to allow council members to be able to receive items, people pick up dinner, to receive other items that other members of the public could get without being a violation of council rules. And if you look on your form, you'll see, or on the resolution, everything that's bold is what was added to the original rule, which is Rule K. And again, just to be clear, from the study session, nothing was intended to conflict with Section 1-43 of the Aurora City Code, which is titled Gifts to Elected Officials.
Questions to staff?
Mayor.
Councilmember Marcano.
Thank you, sir. So thank you, Pete, for your work on this. Although I do have a question, because it seems to me like the existing rules are a lot less permissive, and a lot of what we are adding here, I thought you could already do. So I'm concerned about overcomplicating, something here and adding a gray area where one previously did not exist because the previous rules were much more simple.
So I think the main concern is obviously if it's close family or friends, right? I mean, going back to the legal side of it is somebody trying to buy your influence, right, through all these purposes. And the question is, what is allowed? What is the city council as a whole going to allow for people wanting to buy council members dinner or bring them gifts, something that is not intended to be preferential treatment, right? So we wanted to get some guidelines. I think that was what the Rules Committee was asking for, and what we wanted to do was get the rule for council to not conflict with city code. The city code has the same amount of numbers that we're talking about. For example, $300 per year if you're somebody going to buy you dinner. As long as it's like we talked about during the study session, council members, as long as it's not a developer who's trying to get your vote on something, you probably shouldn't allow them to pick up the tab, because the question is going to come down to, are you really not looking for preferential treatment for the developer to buy a dinner? So, but if you're out, somebody picks up the tab, generally it should be less than $100 and not more than $300 per person or organization for the year to kind of match the city code.
All right, thank you.
Further questions to staff? Seeing none, motion.
Mayor.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Murillo.
Thank you. I was looking at Section K,
subsection B, where it says, let's see, as part of a marketing technique, example given, entertainment passes. Is there a reason why, like, what is marketing technique? What does that even mean?
So, Councilmember Murillo, basically it's going to be any business that might be giving items to try to get you to come to their establishment, right? If it's a discount card or something, but it can't be just the council members. The purpose of that rule is, as long as that item is available for the general public, council members can partake in that as long as it's not specific to council members. It all goes down to whether or not they're trying to put undue influence on the elected official.
Further questions?
Clarifying question, Mayor.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So you're saying that this is separate from somebody paying for a council member's ticket. So it's just generally if it's available to the public that a council member could gain access to that, not specifically tickets for a council member.
Correct. I mean, the changes do not specifically go for tickets to concerts or Rockies games or anything along those lines, because generally those are going to be more than $100. This is for marketing techniques for discount. Again, for Rockies tickets, Broncos tickets, those things, you guys could get discounts for those tickets, but this rule would not allow them to give you a box seat in one of the stadiums.
Further questions?
We could get a discount to a box seat for the price of a nosebleed seat.
As long as that discount is available to members of the general public and not just specific to the elected officials.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Further questions to staff?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just clarification on that. So if you, if someone buys you a ticket that is not given to the general public, we do have to disclose that on our disclosure reports, correct?
Yes, ma'am. There are also rules about certain, these things are going to be included on the disclosures as well that elected officials have to fill out.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. And Pete, so I'm struggling because I feel like undue influence seems like a separate issue than the $300 limits that we're talking about here. Whether someone wants to bribe me for a cup of coffee or for a box seat, it's irrelevant to me. It's undue influence. It's unacceptable, and we should not even be opening any kind of potential justification for that, I feel. So again, I kind of ask, what's the real purpose of the limits then? Because I feel like our rules already prohibited us to, accept undue influence or, a bribe, however we want to put it. So what does the limit then have to do with anything?
So the limits were something that was already in the Aurora City Code, right? So when I was asked to draft, when we were the city attorneys, I was asked to draft this from the Rules Committee. We were looking to see how can we draft something for council that wouldn't be in conflict. So that's where the numbers come from. Now, again, what I would stress to all council members, all elected officials, is if you get that inkling that somebody's trying to buy you something or do something for you that's trying to do preferential treatment from you, you reject it. But this is for one of those incidents where, if somebody picks up your dinner or they give you a pass or something along those lines, you're not going to be in violation of the current policy of K as it's written. Under the current policy, without these changes, you technically would be in violation of your council rules.
Further questions?
Mayor, sorry.
Please proceed.
And that's just to clarify. So if my mother wants to pick up the tab for something, I'm currently in violation of K, or if a very close friend of mine who I've known for years and years before I was ever on council.
That is, as we read K, you technically could be in violation of K as it's written today. But again, I think the general premise was if it's close family or close friends, clearly not trying to seek any influence. We're not going to, that's not something, but it would technically be a violation under the current rule.
All right, thank you.
Further questions, Councilmember Lawson?
Mayor, I have a question. So if we have, if we want to pick up a tab, and I'm just trying to understand this section as well. If we're trying to pick up a tab for maybe we go out to dinner with another council member and we pick up their tab, is that, because I know that was a discussion in the Rules Committee about this. Is that kind of, how is that addressed in this section?
So it's going to be other than fellow council members, all right? So it's going to be that generally, and it coming out of the Rules Committee, and we get in there, it says acceptance of items or food or beverages permitted, there was no expectation of favorable or preferential treatment by the council member or the provider of the items. The council member, other council members are included in that. I kind of look at it as a balancing act. We have the council members and we have the provider. If the council members are together and they're buying each other dinner, that doesn't apply. That's how you can look at that, the way that is coded in subsection C.
Okay, just a kind of a gap in that, there could be influence amongst council members. So I'm just pointing that out as well.
Fair enough. No comment.
If council members would all chip in and buy the mayor a trip to Vegas, just saying, that would be appropriate, would it not?
I don't know if you can get there for $1,000, Mayor, but.
Further questions of
But
staff?
you might, but.
Further questions of staff?
Who would want to all go together?
Further questions of staff? Okay. Very well. Motion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Rio.
thank you. Can you clarify section D a bit? I'm also not clear on that.
So subsection D is talking about, again, it goes back, marketing techniques were more about, in subsection B, was about discounts for tickets, for dinner, those sort of things that are provided generally to the public, that are not only just for council members. D is going to be things that are dropped off at your offices, that are provided. These could be holiday gifts. They could be certain things. But what was accepted was no cash or gift cards, right? Because that is by the essence of what we don't want. We don't want cash or gift cards being delivered, even if they're giving it to everybody. That is what's strictly linked to the bribery statute.
Further questions? Staff? Seeing none, the motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
Motion to approve 11F.
Moved by Councilmember Gardner, seconded by
Zvonek.
Councilmember Zvonek to approve item number 11F. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of item number 11F.
The motion passes with 7 yes votes, 3 no votes from Councilmember Medina, Marcano, and Coombs for Resolution 2022-88.
The time is now 7:33. We will stand in recess until 7:38 to give time to staff to make another announcement for the call-in line.
Members of the public who would like to speak on a resolution or ordinance and have not already spoken to an operator, press star 3 before the item is called by the clerk. For those watching on Channel 8, call 855-695-3475 to be connected, and then press star 3. Council is taking a short break to allow any additional speakers to sign up. Please be patient and stay on the line until the operator is able to take down your information. Thank you.
Council is now back in session. Will the clerk now please read the title to item number 12A?
Item 12A is ordinance 2022-22, public hearing and introduction of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado for a zoning map amendment to adjust existing zone district boundaries of the medium-density residential R2, mixed-use regional MUR, and mixed-use airport MUA zoning districts for land located east of E470 between 48th Avenue and 56th Avenue, Windler zoning map amendment.
Public hearing is now open. Presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors. I'm Asia Tibbs, a Senior Planner here for the Planning and Development Services Department. Before you, we can get that to play. There we go. This is the subject site vicinity map for item 12A, the Windler zoning map amendment. The Windler development is outlined in purple. However, the zoning application only affects a portion of the east side of the project on the east side of E470 that is outlined in the dashed green line. The property is bounded by E470 on the west, 56th Avenue on the north, Harvest Road on the east, and 48th Avenue on the south. The application area consists of 3 separate zone districts: mixed-use regional on the northwest corner along 56th and E470, a mixed-use airport zone on the southwest corner that's on 48th and E470, and then the rest, or the remaining portion of the property, is designated as R2, which is medium-density residential. The image on the left hand of the slide is the previously approved Windler master plan, which was adopted in 2004. As you can see, the zoning map boundaries that currently exist are roughly in alignment with the previously approved master plan. The Denali Road, the previous alignment of Denali Road, you can kind of see there bounding R2 and then the MUR and MUA zones. The applicant is in the process of updating the Windler master plan, and that has shifted the land uses and planning areas for the proposed development. We would like to prevent lots and development parcels from being divided by different zones. This creates an issue with regulating land use documents and addressing development as it occurs. Therefore, the applicant has proposed to adjust existing zones to align with the proposed master. Planning Commission has made a recommendation of approval to the City Council following the public hearing held on March 23rd. Notice of tonight's public hearing was posted, published, and mailed not less than 10 days prior to the hearing, and staff has not received any comments for or against the application. That concludes my presentation. The applicant is also present. If you would like to hear a presentation, they have one prepared, or they're just available for questions.
Presentation by the applicant.
So I just press the button. All right. Good evening, John Prestwich with PCS Group, 200 Calumet Street, Denver, Colorado, 80223. Thank you all for your time this evening, and obviously a big thanks to Asia and Brandon, really all of the city staff for getting us here this evening. So we are big believers in collaboration, and we truly recognize that it does take a team effort to put together a successful application. And I always want to acknowledge the effort that it takes in the creation of a new community for the city of Aurora. This slide highlights many of the team members that have helped us get to this point this evening. And again, we want to recognize all the input that city staff has provided us as we have worked throughout this process. So just a little bit of background. I don't want to duplicate too much information here, but in 2001, the Windler property went through an initial design concept as a mixed-use community, but it was not an integrated concept. And then in 2003, the original master plan was approved and adopted in 2004. So actually in late 2020, we started working on some initial concepts to update the overall community plan And in 2021, our client team closed on the full 847-acre assemblage, bringing together really a disparate set of owners, which really allows now for the creation of a holistically planned community. And that really brings us to this evening. We are requesting a minor map amendment to the current zoning to really align the zoning boundaries with the new community concept. So Asia showed an exhibit similar to this, but again, for reference, the existing zoning is shown on the left side of the slide, and then the proposed map amendment on the right. And again, the amendment is really simply to align these zoning boundaries with anticipated future roadways. So that really concludes my presentation. I just wanted to point out that the zoning map amendment remains consistent with the comprehensive plan. There will not be any impact or compatibility concerns with the surrounding area. The amendment is consistent and supports the updates to the new Windler Master Plan. And finally, both staff and Planning Commission have recommended approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and again, thank you for your time.
Are there any, let's see, I'm sorry. I think we'll go back to that. First, are there any members of the public who wish to be heard?
No.
Seeing none, are there any questions from council members to staff or the applicant? Seeing none, thank you very much then for your presentation. Public hearing is now closed. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Drinsky.
I motion to approve item 12A.
It's been moved by Councilmember Drinsky, seconded by
Coombs.
Councilmember Coombs to approve item number 12A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of item number 12A.
Councilmember Murillo, we don't have your vote. Oh, now we do. Thank you. Councilmember Gardner?
Councilmember Gardner had to leave.
Oh, okay. Thank you. The motion passes to approve ordinance 2022-22.
Will clerk now please read the title of item number 14A?
Item 14A is ordinance 2022-23, an ordinance authorizing the Chief Information Officer to acquire certain tangible and intangible information technology property during the 2022 fiscal year, either by purchase or pursuant to the terms of lease purchase agreements to be entered into between the city as leasee and lease investors, vendors, or the Aurora Capital Leasing Corporation, each as leaser, authorizing officials of the city to take all action necessary to carry out the transactions contemplated hereby.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and members of council. Can you hear me? Okay, that'll help. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Scott Newman, I'm the Chief Information Officer for the city. As this ordinance states, this ordinance would authorize the IT department to enter into lease purchase agreements for either software assets that we need to acquire or hardware assets that we need to acquire. We did enter some lease purchase agreements in 2021 that were authorized by a resolution from council. However, when we spoke with the outside bond council, it was their recommendation that we actually have that memorialized in the form of an ordinance to ensure that the city can comply with any tax requirements for the filings with the IRS when using lease purchase agreements. So this is just a specific ordinance to authorize us to do so we can conform with those tax reporting requirements.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, a motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, sir. Move to approve 14A.
Moved by Councilmember Cano, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lawson to approve item number 14A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 14A. Call for the question.
Councilmember Coombs, we need your vote.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously for ordinance 2022-23.
Thank you. Will the clerk please now read the title of item number 14B?
Item 14B is ordinance 2022-24, an ordinance of the City of Aurora, Colorado, appropriating sums of money in addition to those appropriated in ordinance numbers 2020-53, 2021-17, and 2021-68 for the 2021 fiscal year, and ordinance number 2021-56 for the 2022 fiscal year.
Brief presentation by staff.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. What you have in front of you on page 276 of your packet is the 2022 Spring Supplemental Ordinance. And just for people who are watching in, there's 3 times where you can adjust the budget for the city. The main one is during the actual budget process, where we give a council the budget in the August timeframe, talk about it in September, October. But in addition to that, there's 2 times that are called supplementals. We'll have a spring supplemental and a fall supplemental. Fall supplemental is smaller. The spring supplemental is quite a bit larger. It's quite a bit larger because it actually goes backwards in time and forwards in time. So you'll see supplementals in here for 2021 and 2022. Just to point out a couple of the larger items that you'll see in here. In 2021, there's $265 million for the issuance of the first lien water refunding revenue bonds in the water fund, $28.3 million for land and water rights acquisitions in the water fund, and $14.1 million, which is a transfer from the general fund to the capital projects fund for capital-related projects. In 2022, there are 9.5 FTEs across various departments. There are $30 million for a build grant associated with the I-70 Piccadilly project, and there's $13.1 million to pay off the Hogan Parkway. This supplemental was unanimously approved at M&F and also in the study session. So when I have people virtual, if you have any questions on any specific item.
Questions of staff? We take public. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard?
No.
Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember Jurenski. Councilmember Zvonik.
Well, we both said it.
Oh, yes, okay.
Councilmember Jurenski first, then Councilmember Zvonik.
I was like,
I motion to approve item 14.
Been moved by Councilmember Jurenski, second by Councilmember Zvonik. To approve item number 14B. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, question before us is the adoption of item number 14B. Call for the question.
The motion passes unanimously to approve ordinance 2022-24.
I understand that item number 15A through 15C can be taken together.
No, Mayor. Item 15A did not receive a unanimous vote during the first reading.
Okay.
Item 15B and 15C did, with Mayor Pro Tem absent at that meeting.
Would the clerk now please read the title of item number 15A?
Item 15A is ordinance 2022-17, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, amending Chapter 146 of the City Code related to text amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance that address typographical errors, corrections, and clarifications.
Brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Brandon Camerata with the Planning Department. This is the second reading of this ordinance, which includes a variety of adjustments to the zoning code. If there's any questions, I would try to answer them.
Questions of staff?
Mayor.
I'm sorry, Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, sir. This pertains to a comment that we got actually during public invited to be heard, but part of the discussion that we had at our previous council meeting. Do we know when the code regarding to setbacks is actually going to be sent to study session for discussion?
Mayor, through you, I'm not aware of that time frame.
Mayor.
I guess City Manager.
Councilmember Mercado.
Mayor, through you, I'm told June 6th.
Okay, very well. Please proceed. Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, thank you very much. Motion?
Mayor.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, sir. Move to approve 15A.
Moved by Councilmember O'Connell, second by
Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski to approve item number 15A. Discussion?
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just on the Green Court, can you kind of give an explanation of why that was changed?
Mayor, through you, Green Court is a type of residential development around a green common area, and it's allowed in a variety of zone districts. What this code amendment is doing is allowing it also in MUR, which is mixed-use regional zone district, which typically has mostly higher density residential products.
And the 10%, is that consistent with the other areas?
Mayor, through you, that is specific to the MUR zone district, which is one of our more unique zone districts, intended more for higher density uses. So that is the reasoning for that inclusion there, the 10%.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions of staff? Seeing none, discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on item number 15A.
The motion passes unanimously to approve ordinance 2022-17.
My understanding, item number 15B and 15C can be taken together. Motion. Councilmember Jernsky.
I move to approve item 15B and item 15C.
Been moved by Councilmember Jernsky, seconded by
Coombs.
Councilmember Coombs to approve item number 15B and 15C. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 15B and 15C. Call for the question.
The motion passes unanimously to approve ordinances 2022-18 and ordinance 2022-19.
Will clerk now please read the title of item number 17A?
Item 17A is ordinance 2022-20, an ordinance annexing a parcel of land located in the west half of Section 30, Township 3 South, Range 65 West, and the east half of Section 25, Township 3 South, Range 66 West of the 6th Principal Meridian, County of Adams, State of Colorado.
A brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, council members. This item is the consideration of the second reading of the ordinance for this annexation item, and this is the third of the 3 council meetings associated with this item. Apologize. Oops. Oops. Again, this is for the parcel of land 6.097 acres associated with the Aurora Highlands Hospital in Adams County.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, excuse me, a motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember Jernsky. I'm here. Councilmember Jernsky, Councilmember Zavani.
I'm either
Councilmember
Marcano
Zavani, then Councilmember Jernsky.
I would motion to approve item 17A.
Moved by Councilmember Zavani, seconded by Councilmember Jernsky to approve item number 17A. Discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of item number 17A. Call for the question.
The motion passes unanimously to approve ordinance 2022-20.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 17B.
Item 17B is ordinance 2022-21, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, zoning 6.097 acres of land, more or less, generally located adjacent to the east side of the E-470 between 26th Avenue and 38th Avenue within the City of Aurora, County of Adams, State of Colorado, to mixed-use regional district and amending the zoning map accordingly.
Brief presentation by staff.
This is, excuse me, this is the second reading for the proposed initial zoning of approximately 6.1 acres to mixed-use regional district. It is consistent with the annexation being proposed at Aurora Highlands, and it's consistent with the proposed comprehensive plan designation and the Aurora Highlands master plan.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, a motion is in order on the adoption of item number 17B.
Mayor. Motion to approve
Councilmember Medina.
Motion to approve 17B.
It's been moved by Councilmember Medina, seconded by
Coombs.
Councilmember Sundberg. Seconded by Councilmember Sundberg to approve item number 17B. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, the question before us is the adoption of item number 17B. Call for the question.
The motion passes unanimously to approve ordinance 2022-21.
Would the clerk now please read the title to item number 17C?
Item 17C is consideration of an annexation agreement between the City of Aurora, Colorado, the Aurora Highlands LLC, a Nevada limited liability company, and Northeast Denver Highlands LLC, a Colorado limited liability company.
Brief presentation by staff.
This item is in association with that same annexation. This is the annexation agreement, which is the part of the final readings for these annexations. Again, as a reminder, council approved a resolution on February 28th, making a finding that the petition was in substantial compliance with statutory requirements, set the public hearing date, which occurred on April 11th. Tonight is the consideration of those final readings of the ordinances, which you just heard, and the introduction of the annexation agreement. And the annexation agreement does follow the city's model.
Questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs?
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
Councilmember Sundberg. It's moved by Councilmember Sundberg, seconded by
Coombs.
Councilmember Coombs to approve item number 17C. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, question before us is the adoption of item number 17C. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes unanimously to approve item 17C.
Would the clerk now please read the title to item number 19A?
Item 19A is consideration to appoint one member to the Aurora Commission for Older Adults.
Motion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
Move to appoint Deborah Bowditch to the Aurora Commission for Older Adults.
Moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Bergen.
Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem to approve item number 19A. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, and the question before us is the adoption of item number 19A. Call for the question.
Mayor, how would you like to vote?
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes unanimously to approve item 19A.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 19B.
Item 19B is consideration to appoint one member to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Motion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Savanik.
Mayor, I'd like to appoint Garrett Ahern to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Jurenski will second it.
It's been moved by Councilmember Savanik, seconded by Councilmember Jurenski to approve item number 19A. Discussion?
Mayor,
Councilmember Coombs.
I'd like to make a substitute motion to appoint Brian Matisse.
It's okay. Substitute motion by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Marcano.
Seconded by Councilmember Marcano. Discussion on the substitute motion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Marcano.
Thank you, sir. I think we had 4 amazing applicants. I think we'd be well served by any of them, but during the interview process, I think Mr. Matisse stood out the most. I think he was exceptionally thorough and thoughtful in his answers. I think his legal background also brings a lot to the commission. So I would encourage my colleagues to support Mr. Matisse for this position.
Further discussion?
Mayor?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I'd like to echo the sentiments of Councilmember Marcano. I think all 4 were very good candidates. I did like both Garrett and Brian Matisse. I thought they were exceptional.
Further discussion? The question before us is the adoption of the Coombs substitute amendment to item number 19B. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes no.
The motion does not pass with a tie vote. No votes, Councilmember Zavanek, Mayor Kaufman, Mayor Pro Tem Bergen, Councilmember Jurenski, and Councilmember Sundberg.
We are then back to the original motion. Is there further discussion on the original motion? And that was
Garrett Ahern.
Councilmember Zavonic?
Yes.
Who introduced that?
Yep.
Okay, to the Zavonic motion. Further discussion? Seeing none, question before us is the adoption of the Zavonic motion to item number 19B.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes with 9 yes votes and 1 no vote from Councilmember Murillo.
Reports. Mayor's no report. Let's see, Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. We will be having our at-large town hall meeting on May 6th at 6 o'clock. It will be at the Heather Gardens Clubhouse. We're going to be talking about the budget and also public safety updates. So I hope everyone will be able to attend that meeting. The Pfizer Committee met on April 22nd and had a presentation from Excel on the rate increases. PUC staff also presented on the role they play in the rate-setting process. PowerPoint presentations from both entities will be shared with council. The city submitted 2 projects to be considered for congressionally directed spending. One is for the Aurora water line replacement, and the other is the improvement to the MLK library. The Pfizer Committee and Council approved of these projects. Bless you. Representative Crow is submitting both projects to the Appropriations Committee for consideration this week, and we are still waiting to learn more about the Senate timeline. There are 15 days remaining in the legislative session. A good number of bills are still making their way through the process, and we anticipate several major bills still to be introduced. And that's all I have to report, Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner. Councilmember Gardner. Councilmember Zavonic.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick update on the Red Tape Reduction Committee. This past week, we've held our final public hearing and are going to now be in the process of getting to work to address the many issues that were presented to us. I just want to thank my colleagues who've served on the committee so far and all of the staff that's been helping. I look forward to the solutions that are going to come as a result of this hearing. For ice cream lovers in the city, there is one really great potential change coming. We learned through this process that ice cream trucks are prohibited currently in the city of Aurora. So assuming that enough of my colleagues agree, we are going to free the ice cream trucks, and I look forward to this summer having the noise or the music that we all know so well going around our city to the detriment maybe of our kids, but ice cream lovers I'm sure will be happy about this. That's all I have to report tonight.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Thank you. I think my other at-large colleagues pretty much said everything that I wanted to say, but just to echo, our at-large town hall is coming up May 5th at 6 o'clock at the Heather Gardens Clubhouse, and we just encourage everyone to come.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to thank staff for hosting the 13th Avenue Mobility Study last couple of weekends ago to continue to engage folks in that decision-making process. I normally have my town hall the 4th Thursday of the month, but I'm going to have to cancel for this month. So I just wanted to give as much notice as possible for this Thursday, and we'll figure out another way to reschedule that. Otherwise, that is my update. Thank you.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Thank you, Mayor. May 19th, Town Hall, Central Rec Center, panel discussion on metro districts. Hopefully won't turn into a rock'em sock'em robots between Brian Matisse and Christy Pollard. Should be interesting. Last night in Murphy Creek, we got the direct taste of some street racing, possibly 100 cars blocking the intersection of 6th Avenue and Gun Club, where patrons couldn't even exit a gas station for probably 45 minutes because they were blocked in, and the police have not been able to respond to some of these in the past because of gunshots. I spoke with a couple of officers today, Commander Whitman and a lieutenant of traffic, to discuss the challenges they face, which is a growing problem across the city, and the business owners. So that's one thing our police department is going to be focusing on.
Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I just have my town hall coming up next Wednesday, May 4th at 6:30, and we'll be talking about the budget as well, so hopefully everyone get out to that, and it'll be at the Active Adult Center. Thank you.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next Ward 4 meeting is going to be on Thursday, May 12th at 6:30 p.m. at Millie's Community Cafe, which is inside of Elevation Christian Church. The church is located at 15600 East Alameda Parkway, just kitty-quarter from the Municipal Center. And we're going to be discussing permanent supportive housing with Pastor Scott Bloyer and Wanda Harrison, who is the Director of Resident Services at Providence at the Heights. So this is outside of Ward 4, and we're not going to have the hybrid set up for this meeting, although I'm going to do my best to live stream the event on Facebook Live using my own devices. So cross your fingers that they cooperate, and I hope you all can join us then. And I also invite my council colleagues to attend that as well. Should be very informative.
Councilmember Coombs.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our Ward 5 Town Hall meeting at Heather Gardens on the 19th, and we had some excellent presentations on recycling, trash, and compost, and I'm looking forward to the staff bringing forward the initial proposal at the Housing, Community Services, and Redevelopment Policy Committee coming up in May to have a consultant reach out to people in our community to improve our waste hauling system and to hopefully streamline that and make it more efficient and equitable. And we will have our next Ward 5 Town Hall meeting on May 17th at the Central Rec Center. It will be a hybrid meeting, and we will be talking about the budget.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to announce my next town hall is on Wednesday, May 18th, and I'll have presentation from Visit Aurora, Bruce Dalton. Also, we're going to have a public safety update on crime and reduction of crime, as well as staffing of the police department, and then my general updates. Tomorrow night in Ward 6, there is going to be a neighborhood meeting on drainage that is addressing some of the constituents that have previously engaged with the city. Mile High Flood District, we do have a new executive director, Kelsey Mahan. I will actually be meeting with her on a one-on-one to get to know her better and her priorities. We did have our last meeting where we went through a lot of different consent items, including some that relate to the city of Aurora. And then for E470, we had a presentation on the hazmat that has been approved for E470 to be a hazmat route. And just to alleviate everyone's fears, it's not nuclear hazmat. That's not allowed. I do want to warn people that there is an increase in mailbox theft, so I would just recommend that you get your mail as soon as you possibly can and do not leave it in there overnight. And that's all. Thank you.
With that, seeing no further business before the City Council, meeting is adjourned.